Everyone knows a superman, or at least we think we do. She's the woman who had an effortless natural birth, whose adorable children ace every test at school, who is always flawlessly turned out. In short, she makes motherhood look easy, and that's why she's so dangerous. Because there's nothing so calculated to make another woman feel inadequate and unhappy as living in the shadow of this image of perfection. The truth is supermom is a monster, and she's none the less harmful for being a monster of our own making. Advertising again reinvented by teens, because of course, no mother's life is that easy. No one really gets it right every time. But when you're feeling vulnerable, worried or uncertain, it's all too easy to look at the woman next to you and assume she's got it all figured out. That's how the supermom myth started, and it's gathering pace. +5 in guide.d. equals IFD 48931 F7 CFD F519 SRC equals http://a.dailymail.co.uk/i/pics/2018/01/10/22/47 Fed 02800057855255667 image A14_151562189309.jpg height equals 1307 width equals 634 alt equals Sarah Lloyd, pictured, 40, claims she felt torn between her career as a global head of leadership and her children after returning from maternity leave. Class equals Blocksporter share, greater than Indeed. My 15 years as a clinical psychologist have convinced me that the shadow of supermom has never loomed larger or been more destructive. Our generation of mothers, I have 2 children aged 8 and 4, is more anxious than ever before about parenting. I am seeing a spiraling number of women suffering from a variety of symptoms, from depression through to panic attacks and obsessive-compulsive disorder. And all because they are terrified they can't live up to the perfect image of motherhood they have constructed in their heads. Take Alice, a successful teacher with a gorgeous 6-month-old daughter. Alice was referred to me by her GP with terrifying panic attacks, a manifestation of extreme anxiety. "I'm a failure. I'm a terrible mother," she told me. Nothing could have been further from the truth. But, as we talked, it became clear that Alice's sense of failure stemmed from her daughter's arrival in the world. She had dreamt of a natural birth. But when labor didn't progress, doctors recommended a cesarean. "It's my fault. I didn't try hard enough," she told me. Her failure to have a perfect birth was seeping into every aspect of her life. Beset by fear and anxiety, which created the panic attacks, she was convinced she would never be the perfect mother. Over many weeks, I was able to help Alice move on and dismantle her damaging image of perfection. I heard time and again how traumatic many women find birth, how far the reality is from the polished image we're too often told to expect. Natalie, a mom of 2, said, "Being in labor felt like being murdered, yet no one tells you that's how it can be. Months, even years, down the line, new moms still reel from the shock, describing their births as a train wreck, or a horrific nightmare. And many feel as if they have failed." With the barrage of images of perfect moms, online, and information about how to become one, it's almost impossible to escape the supermom myths. The influence of the internet also means there's a welter of conflicting advice, mostly well-intentioned, often inaccurate and sometimes downright dangerous, available at any moment. This leaves women confused and worried precisely when they need support, reassurance and clarity the most. The fear of not being perfect can make it even harder to seek support when you need it. Jane, a mom of 2, told me of the days just after her child's birth. "I walked down the street with my screaming newborn, silently crying behind my sunglasses and wondering why every other mom looked like they were coping brilliantly. For today's mothers, there's a supermom myth at every stage of parenthood. After the perfect birth, there's the pressure to breastfeed effortlessly for up to a year. Then, when children are school age, the school gate offers fertile ground for another round of competition and self-loathing, as women strive to present the best possible image of themselves. I feel like a 14-year-old girl, desperate to fit in and for the other mums to like me." Emma, often deeply buried feelings about your own school days may suddenly re-emerge. "I feel like a 14-year-old girl, desperate to fit in and for the other mums to like me," confesses mother of 2 Emma. "The perfect moms at school make me feel like rubbish," admits mom of 2 Debbie. "They all know each other and the teachers, and walk home together. I feel I'm not part of the gang. At the same time, there's the pressure to be just as fun-loving and energetic as you were before having children, to hang on to your old self. A generation ago, this simply wasn't expected of women in the same way. And biologically, it's an incredibly tough standard to set yourself. You are different, and you may even feel guilty for being upset about all you've lost." Mom of 3 Tina told me, "Sadly, I know I am a different person. I used to go out all the time, now I hardly ever do. I used to be ambitious. Now I'm pleased if I leave the house wearing matching socks. I used to go to the cinema and the theater and have lots to say about culture. Now my favorite topic is the best school. I'm dull. +5 mguide.d. equals I3062 fa 16 C24955 ASRC equals http://.dailymail.co.uk/i/pics/2018/01/10/22/47 FCC 8000057855255667 Cheryl. McDonald_pictured_38_sleep_deprivation_from_ball 822_15156224988817. Height equals 847 width equals 634 alt equals Cheryl McDonald, pictured, 38, believes sleep deprivation from balancing her career and family triggered her anxiety attacks. Class equals blocks bordering share, greater than of course, she wasn't dull. She'd simply started behaving differently so she was better able to look after her children. That shouldn't be cause to feel guilty or worthless, but modern life has turned it into simply another stick with which to beat ourselves. No wonder many mothers feel they can't do anything right. Which is why I so passionately believe we need to dismantle the toxic supermom myths and allow women to escape their destructive shadow. Learn to recognize them, to reject them, and ultimately, to laugh at how ridiculous it is to expect a mother's tireless devotion and unfaltering love to conform to such a narrow pattern, which can only damage our self-esteem. I see so many women who feel squashed and isolated because they're not perfect. Shamed and guilty, they beat themselves up, convinced they are doing something wrong. I used to be ambitious. Now I'm pleased if I leave the house wearing matching socks, Tina. But it is possible to defeat the supermom myths. Begin by questioning the negative effect they are having on you and be honest about the way you actually want to live your life. If you feel nervous or anxious at times, harness those feelings and make them work for you. Olympic gold medalist Jessica Ennis-Hill visualizes the sensation of nervous flutters in her stomach as a host of powerful butterflies pulling her towards the finishing line. If you feel overwhelmed by negativity, separate what's real and what's just groundless worry, using a thought diary. Whenever you have a negative thought, jot it down. Notice repeated patterns and any themes that emerge. These might include, the other mums don't like me, or I'm a terrible mother because I let my children watch TV rather than do homework. Once you've isolated negative thought patterns, you can start eradicating them. Above all, be kinder to yourself. If you wouldn't be this hard on a friend, why beat yourself up? The Supermum Myth by Anya Hayes and Dr. Rachel Andrew is published by Crimson Publishing at £12.99. Interview, Tessa Cunningham. At work I'd feel guilty I wasn't with my son, and when I was with him I'd feel guilty I wasn't at work. +5 mguide.d. equals IBF 4732246 CDC 9829 SRC equals http://i.dailymail.co.uk/pics/2018/01/11/10/47 FCC 68000057855255667 Cheryl. McDonald_pictured_underscore of_inadequacy_were_exas A30_15156657642556.jpg. Height equals 780 width equals 634 alt equals Cheryl McDonald, pictured, says feelings of inadequacy were exacerbated by social media, as she attempted to convince everyone she was coping. Class equals blocks bordering share, greater than sitting at her laptop shortly after returning from maternity leave. Sarah Lloyd felt the all-too-familiar warning signs: restless legs, clammy palms, and a compulsion to rub her index fingers and thumbs together. They spread rapidly through her body until her heart was pounding so hard it felt as if it was about to leap out of her chest, and her throat was so constricted she could scarcely talk. I just dropped my daughters at nursery and was due to dial into a conference call, says Sarah, 40. But I was shaking so much I could barely open my laptop. I sent an email to say I was stuck in traffic, and asked a colleague to cover for me. With a high-powered career as the global head of leadership for a technology company, Sarah seemed, to the outside world at least, every inch a success story. WHO new? In a recent survey, 79% of people thought that other parents shared too much online. In addition to a rewarding job, adoring husband and two beautiful daughters, she had a wardrobe crammed with smart clothes and a 4x4 Nissan parked on the drive of her spacious semi-detached house in the home counties. But I felt torn between a job I'd always wanted and two children who needed me, which made me incredibly anxious, says Sarah from Farnborough, Surrey. Her anxiety was both caused and camouflaged by a pursuit of perfection. Women are more susceptible than men to this form of anxiety because the social pressures on them to be a perfect wife and mother while holding down a successful job and social life are so great, says Fiona Markham, Chief Clinical Officer of the Cabin, a mental health services provider that treats disorders including anxiety. They don't want to show they aren't coping, so it becomes a silent disorder. Often, she says, the more anxious mothers become, the more they strive to be supermums to mask their symptoms. The busier their schedules and the more they accomplish, the less they have to acknowledge these crushing and debilitating feelings. Like many women, I felt I had to say yes to every demand thrown at me to prove myself and struggled to delegate, admits Sarah, married to Carl, 39, a design engineer with whom she has two daughters, Lucy, 4, and Amy, 2. +5 in guide.d. equals I741541 K 96 C 96 F5 ASRC equals http://.dailymail.co.uk/i/pics/2018/01/10/22/47 FCCAF 0005785255667 image M21_15156220101558.jpg height equals 646 width equals 634 alt equals Cheryl, pictured, left her career as a business analyst and now runs a chain of yoga franchises but still feels trapped in a cycle of guilt over being perfect in her job and family. Class equals blocks border image share, greater than I'd wake at 4 a.m. fretting about my workload and triple check every project to make sure it was perfect. After becoming a mother it hit me my life had changed beyond measure and I felt overcome with fear that, unlike my career, a baby wasn't something I could control, she says. As an older mom, I was 36 when I gave birth by emergency C-section. I felt I was in a goldfish bowl, with midwives constantly monitoring how Lucy was feeding and sleeping. It took me hours just to get us both out of the house. I felt under enormous pressure. And when she returned to work after 9 months, that pressure segued into depression. I'd leave Lucy with my mom in a nursery when I was at work and constantly had other people telling me what she'd been up to. I felt a huge sense of guilt, as if I'd made a terrible choice, and the panic attacks I'd started to suffer from in my early 30s returned. All the other new mums I knew looked immaculate and said they felt fantastic when Lucy was 1. Sarah's GP put her on antidepressants. Sarah took them throughout her pregnancy with Amy, who, because of her first traumatic labor, was born by elective cesarean in December 2015. It sounds crazy, but at the time, I felt that because I hadn't given birth to Amy naturally I didn't deserve her, she says. Breastfeeding was a struggle and I became obsessed with how she was feeding and sleeping. Then there was the guilt of not being able to spend as much time with Lucy because I had a new baby to look after. When I was looking after both children together I felt completely overwhelmed. I remember driving home from one trip to the park with friends and tears from the stress of simply trying to get both children in the car without either having a meltdown. All the other moms seemed competent in comparison. When Sarah returned to work for the second time in the summer of 2016, she felt under almost intolerable pressure. I felt I needed to prove having two children wouldn't affect my performance, she says. I started having panic attacks every couple of months. When they happened I'd walk out of the office in silence, sit on my own in my car and cry. +5 in guide.d. equals IF3662ED84 FF02BSRC equals http://.dailymail.co.uk/pics/2018/01/10/22/47 FCCA 100005785255667 image M20_15156219996992.jpg height equals 627 width equals 634 alt equals Cheryl believes other mothers will also recognize the continuous journey she faces to control their anxiety. Class equals blocks border image share, greater than I wanted to be a supermom but dealing with a toddler, a baby and a career, was too much. Something had to give out last year. Sarah admitted to her company's HR department that she was doing too much and agreed to go down to a 3-day week. And last month she quit her job altogether to become a freelance communications consultant. Ultimately my girls come first, and I'm not under as much pressure anymore, says Sarah, who has also taken up mindfulness, a form of meditation. I still suffer from a small panic attack most weeks if I'm tired or run down, but I've found 10 minutes of meditation and breathing techniques a day help disguise my anxiety from others. Cheryl McDonald is another successful career woman whose anxiety was exacerbated by motherhood. I managed to persuade people I was coping even when I wasn't, says Cheryl, 38, from Glasgow, who is married to Mike, 42, a physician, with whom she has a 7-year-old son. Kaylin. Breastfeeding constantly all day and night was exhausting, and even when Kaylin slept I couldn't T. Sleep deprivation, she says, cost her all sense of perspective and triggered anxiety attacks. I felt as if the world was caving in. My throat tightened, I felt hot, and there was a sense of being outside my own body. Fortunately Mike was supportive. He held me as I cried and struggled to breathe. In public, she tried to present a brave face. Even though I was an emotional mess, it was important to me that I still came across as competent. I'd put fake tan on my face to make myself seem less strained. I smiled and exuded confidence before going home to collapse. Like most mums, I felt too guilty to admit I couldn't cope. Her feelings of inadequacy were exacerbated by social media. Nobody posts pictures of themselves covered in vomit. All the other new mums I knew looked immaculate and said they felt fantastic when my baby hadn't slept, she recalls. It took 4 hours to get Kaylin dressed. Being stuck in the house all day while Mike was at work was isolating, and being alone with my thoughts drove me mad. In previous generations, new mothers had their families nearby to help them cope. My parents were a half-hour drive away and both were still working full-time. Although her symptoms eased when Kaylin was 3 and started sleeping better, Cheryl, a former business analyst who now runs a chain of yoga franchises called Yoga Bellies, says she is still trapped in an endless cycle of guilt that she is not a good enough mother or businesswoman. At work I'd feel guilty I wasn't with my son, and when I was with Kaylin I'd feel guilty I wasn't at work. I have learned to control my anxiety, but keeping it under control is an ongoing journey. And one all too many mothers will recognize. NHS explains the best ways to identify and deal with anxiety. Loaded, 0% progress, 0% 0:00 previous play skip live mute 0:00 current time 0:00 duration time 4:08 full screen need text video, quality 576p 540p 360p 270p foreground, white black red green blue yellow magenta cyan, opaque semi-opaque background, white black red green blue yellow magenta cyan, opaque semi-transparent transparent window, white black red green blue yellow magenta cyan, opaque semi-transparent transparent font size 50% 75% 100% 125% 150% 175% 200% 300% 400% text edge style none raised depressed uniform drop shadow font family default monospace serif proportional serif monospace sans serif proportional sans serif casual script small caps defaults done minimize expand close